Hey now, it's Sharon, and I'm back to share another idea on how we can. I'm going to change it. How about I'm going to share some of the things that I went through while policing and how I came to challenge my motives and the things that I thought, the ideas that I had. And I'm going to tell you some of my police experiences. I share a couple of military experiences, but mainly the policing side of it. And I'll share how I challenged and went inside myself and figure out where my motives and the ideas that I was having come from. I went through, let me say this. If you're new to the channel, I'm a retired detective. I worked for 20 years for a southeastern city in the U.S., and I was also in the military, sharing ideas, thoughts, ideas, opinions, experiences on hopes of helping others challenge themselves to go inside of themselves and see what's going on within their hearts and why they have the thoughts that they have with the environment and what's going on in the country. We see that one side could say the other side is really off or not intelligent or unintelligent. Both sides can say that about one another, but who's willing to go inside of themselves and basically check out what's going on in their hearts and why do they have the thoughts that they have? Is it influenced by media? Is it influenced by your researching and studying? Is it influenced by your pastors and listening to every word that comes out of their mouths and not researching for yourself? Is it just regurgitated information that you're hearing? Why are you having the thoughts that you have and the motives that you have? I'm telling my side of it because of the ostracism and the retaliation I went through because I whistleblew. I basically told on some officers. I was brought in, questioned. I told the truth, and I became a victim and a suspect at the same time. I talk about that. I wrote a book. Here it is. I hope you can see it. I wrote a book, and it's called My Middle Eastern Conflict, Looking Back at My Future. Take a good look at the cover. And it's available on lulu.com under the Religion and Spirituality tab. It's about $15. I share my daily diaries, a good part of it, on what I went through after telling on some officers and what they were doing. And then I share revelation that I got while being ostracized and left by myself to patrol, to do my job, not have any backup. And the time that I spent alone, I realized some things about myself. I figured out my identity, and I share that in the book. I will say this. I use the Bible, the Apocrypha, different journals. I actually did some research just to figure out some of the revelation that I was getting from the Bible and some of the things that I was taught and kind of deconstructing from some of that. But that's in the book. But yeah, going back to what I said, challenging myself to go inside myself. Because how about this? Have you ever sat around with your friends or whoever and you see somebody and let's just say it's a female and she's wearing tight clothing and you're thinking to yourself, well, I graduated to thinking to myself, when I was younger, me and my friends, girl, look at her. She just want that attention. We'll say it out loud what we're thinking. And then as I started to grow in my faith, I started to kind of keep it to myself. You know, I hear people talking. I'm like, and I'll say something in my mind like, she knows she's wrong for that. You know, now with more knowledge, more understanding of who I am. And I had to go inside myself to figure out, why am I saying these things? You know, I wouldn't want anybody to say about me. And so once I started doing that, and it really came to fruition, or I should say, it made me look inside myself, is when I was spending a lot of time by myself at my job because officers didn't want to be seen with me. And that made me take a look inside and look into my own heart. And it was challenging because On one side, I'm thinking, I'm with like-minded people. I'm working with the police. I'm a detective. We think alike. But do we think alike? Because now that I've told the truth, I'm being ostracized and pushed aside and left alone, and nobody wants to be seen with me or seen talking to me. Yeah, you had people come to me when nobody was around, or, well, when nobody was around, basically. You keep your head up. I feel you on that, but man, I don't want nobody messing with my job. But you keep your head up. And I would get those little comments, away from everybody else, or when I was alone. Did it help? To some degree, it did help. But I at the same time, I'm thinking, you don't want to be seen with me for telling the truth? How warped is that? Cognitive dissonance at its best. But again, it challenged me to go inside myself, and I started to do that. I shared last week's video about my heart and what I found inside my heart. And I shared that through Bible study, and Numbers 13 was revelatory for me. I had a deeper understanding of, when the Lord said, go into the land and take the land from these people groups. These people groups had names, the Hittites, the Jebusites. But if you look up their names, Hittites means fear. Jebusites means the look down on spirit. These people looked down on others and thought they were better. That's where the caste system comes from. That's where racism comes from. And I had those camps set up on the land of my heart, if you will. And so I started to take a survey of the land, if you will, of my heart. And I was like, wow, now I'm understanding why I have some of the thoughts I have and why I think the way I think. And here I am, kind of surprised by the ostracism that I'm facing because I'm with like-minded people, or so I thought. But now they give me the cold shoulder. Nobody wants to be seen with me. Nobody wants to ride with me. They won't back me up. I've had sergeants tell me, Walter, you're a good investigator, but a lot of people don't want you over here. And, I didn't know how to take that. Was that a compliment? You're the sergeant, but then the other folks run the unit. I don't get it. Okay. I've had a deputy chief tell me that also, like, keep your head up, but said it to me when everybody else was away. Keep your head up. You're doing a good job. But you're the deputy chief, and you can't say that in front of other people. So again, that made me take a look inside, and I share that in the book, lulu.com, and I share revelation on fixing, if you will, and getting some of that stuff out of my heart. And once I did that and addressed like the Jebusite spirit I talked about, and the Jebusite spirit is the look down spirit. Racism comes from that. And my issue with white men and the white Jesus. I talk about that in the book. And once I started to answer those questions and see, well, I'm sitting in a restaurant, minding my business, looking around, and I see a group of white men. They ain't said nothing to me. They ain't looked my way. And I'm enraged. Why is that? I started to ask, well, that's in the book too. I started to ask myself that question. And I had to unpack my heart. And there were a lot of different nations, if you will, in my heart from Numbers 13. You got to go read it. All the nations have names, and the names have significant meaning. And that's where I got the revelation in the deeper meaning of Numbers 13 when he said, go into your heart. See who all is in there. Survey the land. And remember, he sent 12 spies, and 2 of them came back with a good report. And those 2, if you look up their names have significant meaning. But I'm not going to share too much of that because it's in the book. But yeah, I hope that little bit helps. I challenge you to just take one little small thought that you would not repeat to somebody, and then ask yourself, why did I just think that? Why did I just think that? Something small. It could be, why did you walk past that paper and you actually saw the paper crumbled up, and it probably goes in the garbage, but you walk past it. Ask yourself, why did you do that? And then when you think about why did you do that, ask yourself 2 questions. Would it have been easier to walk past it and not think about it, but you're thinking about it, of course? Or would it have just been easier to just pick it up and throw it in the garbage because I see it? Just because I see it and it needs to be in the garbage. think about those things. But yeah, the book, again, is on lulu.com. It's $15, 165 pages. Under the spirituality and religion tab, I share some other ideas. I share some stories in here too. Some funny stories and some what I think are deep thinking stories on how I went into my heart because of the motives and the ideas that I was having from being ostracized and retaliated against by my fellow officers, like-minded people, so I thought. I'll share a little bit more next week. Take a look at the online store. The link is in the description. The link for this book is going to be in the description also. And like, subscribe, comment on your thoughts. Like it, don't like it, comment. I'd appreciate it. And as is our tradition, you don't necessarily have to go through a thing to learn from it. Talk to you later. Bye.